everyone, and welcome back to For the Minions. I'm your host, Mongoose. Joining me, as always, is Arrg The Pirate. How you doing, Arrg? How was your holidays?
Not too bad. Went to Texas, got sick, came home, stayed sick for a little while, and now it's New Year's. So we're doing good.
Fun.
Yeah.
Mandy Mel, how about you? Any less sickness in your holidays?
Much less sickness, so I am grateful for that. Yeah, just nice and quiet.
Right on. I actually got pretty sick as well, so something's going around. I don't know.
Yes, definitely something.
Fucking internet virus. So yeah, we didn't do it last week, of course, because of the holidays, and there actually aren't that many updates this week, but we did get a few, so we're going to get into them now with news and updates. So news and updates for Meta Buff. They had that weird Christmas thing.
Yeah,
the Lunar Festival, or what was it called? I forget.
Luminary Festival?
Yeah,
or something
like that. They came out with that. What was it, like the day after Christmas, wasn't it, or the Christmas Day?
The day of, or something like that.
I wasn't really sure. Is that like teasing it for next year, where hey, we're gonna have a Christmas festival? Yeah, I was really confused as to what that was, or maybe it's just some lore stuff, because they said something about during Christmas the sun turns purple or something.
Yeah, it was like I think it was specifically red and green that things would change to red and green and
all Christmassy and stuff.
I
don't know. It was
Christmassy
weird
to me.
Yeah, it was a little odd.
We have a hard time getting updates for Metabuff, and then when we finally get an update, it's for a Christmas festival that's
364 days away.
Days away for a game that's not even made yet. I'm like, come on, guys. I've been holding my tongue on Metabuff. Metabuff's been pissing me off. The other update we have for Metabuff, they were asking about melee ADCs, which is kind of going to be our topic for discussion this week as well. I'm not sure what they're getting at with that either. They were just asking the community what their thoughts were on melee ADCs. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, you don't typically see melee ADCs in well, I can't speak for all MOBAs, of course, but when I'm pretty sure that was a unique thing. Wukong, Seraph, Yin, those three, Paragon considered them carries, which I wrote a novel in response to Metabuff about that, and I'm not exactly sure how they want to balance them, but if it was up to me, I would take the melee carry role, and kind of adjust that to maybe fit solo lane better or something like that. That way you're not really saying these are carries, because again, the word carry, it's different depending on what MOBA you're talking about. In Paragon, it meant ADC, you're playing in the duo lane, but when you say carry in something like Smite, it just means you're playing awesome. It just means, hey, you're 10-0.
You're carrying the team.
Right. And so, that was another thing that I said. I really think one thing Paragon always lacked, and I would like to see implemented in Core and even in Predecessor, is I think the different types of characters need roles, not Marauder and Assassin and all these crazy ones that Paragon had, but say, you've got Hunters, those are your ranged ADCs. You've got Assassin, those are your high basic damage heroes, or that are melee. You've got Mages, who are burst casters, and from there, then you can kind of signify what their role is, instead of just saying, because Yin and Twin Blast were not on the same page at all. They didn't really fill the same role. Same with Wukong. Wukong, man, I don't think I ever saw Wukong in the duo lane ever. He was
maybe when he was first released, maybe.
Right, but he was a solo lane, or I even saw him in the jungle a little bit. And then Seraph, I personally thought Seraph was an absolute amazing jungler, late game. And she was decent in the solo lane. I thought she was just absolutely terrible in the duo lane. Anytime you saw Seraph in the duo lane, it was like, oh, hey, this is going to be easy. I kind of think that, define the role as to, what a high damage basic attack melee hero is. Define that role, and then tune them to fit in a different position other than the dual lane. Because again, you know, a Narbash Wukong going against a Muriel Twin Blast is not, you know, the ranged heroes are definitely going to be at an advantage for the beginning, anyways.
Well, let's save this talk for the topic of discussion. I think the main concern right here is, as far as it pertains to updates for meta buff, do they plan on not having melee ADCs if the community doesn't want melee ADCs? Is that what they're getting at?
Sounds like that's what they were getting at.
I know they changed a lot of the they're changing a lot of the heroes' abilities.
Well, you know, I really do think it's fair to say that Core is going to be very different from Paragon. You know, as far as the core powers, the focuses, the relics, you know, the passives being implemented in, you know, which Paragon did have passives. I think there was, what, like 12 heroes with passives, and I believe they removed the passives, like the true passives. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they removed them before the game even came to PlayStation, right? I mean, it was a long time ago. So, you know, and going, okay, we're going to throw passives on everybody. That's really going to change how the game was played completely. So, you know, I think it's fair to say that it looks like Core is deviating from Paragon more and more as time goes on.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No, I don't think so either.
So, yeah, cool shit from Core, finally. It's like trying to get updates for these guys, like pulling teeth. So let's move on to Omega. They released a picture of their 5v5 map for New Year's Day, and it looks a lot like Legacy.
Yeah, it does. It looks a lot like Legacy.
I think that's going to assuage a lot of fear. A lot of people were kind of afraid that Omega was making Monolith, and I think just looking at that picture of the map, you can tell it is not going to be Monolith. That is definitely very much Legacy inspired.
Yes, very much like. If you compared that picture with what we've seen from Core, the towers in Core are about the size of Monolith towers, but the Predecessor towers, you know, the circle, the AOE range, is the size of Legacy, and that's huge. You know, I'm sure a lot of people don't remember, but the towers in Legacy were probably triple the size of Monolith, maybe?
I think so, yeah.
And so that means you remember the Gideon ult being humongous, you know, like it was the size of the circle of the tower. Same with Muriel, things like that. So, you know, we're getting a much bigger, grander game from Predecessor, it looks like, than that close quarters. You know, I would say the smaller the map is, the more fast-paced the game's going to be. Yeah. So it looks like we might be getting a much more Legacy-feeling map, even though, you know, hopefully travel mode is just cosmetic and not an actual game mechanic. But, you know, yeah, I think I'm definitely excited about Legacy. As everybody knows, that was my thing. I loved Legacy. You know, it's a huge deal for me to see that map again, and I'm excited for it. What about you, Mandy?
It's bigger than the little 2-lane map that Smokey uses for
definitely
streams. I think a lot of people were thinking that was going to be the map, and that's not going to be the map.
Yeah.
He said several times, but I guess people miss it, you know.
But
yeah, it doesn't matter how many times you say it. If you just buzz in real quick and see it, you know, there's a good chance you're going to miss.
Yeah. You just need some scrolling text. Just constant scrolling text.
Yeah. For continuing on with meta buff, they're continuing to perfect the Alpha 5. They've been demonstrating like Murdoch's ult and a lot of some of the sound effects, the real sound effects for Sephiroth. A lot of stuff like that. Do you guys have any updates on that? You guys have been watching the streams more than I've been able to lately.
So, go ahead, Mandy.
Oh, I was just going to say, I know before the holiday, he was working on wards and demonstrated how those were working, how they're working correctly, they can take damage, they can be destroyed, they are doing what wards should do. So that was before the holiday. I don't remember what else I had in my notes.
That's a lot of work for an item that nobody's going to pick up.
Oh, hey, I use words sometimes.
He is now if this video is probably going to come out later, but he is doing the Q&A, the community Q&A, which I'm sure I'm going to talk about it next week anyways. But yeah, in his Discord or in the Ometa's Discord, he's asking the community for questions, and he's going to do a Q&A stream tomorrow, which is actually today when y'all are watching this.
Yeah.
You know, and that's awesome. You know, I've even popped in and asked a question myself. So, guys, that's awesome to me because he's answering the questions we want to know.
It's a good time to pop into their Discord and ask your questions.
I agree. Yep. And I'm sure Smokey's in the chat right now.
And he also demoed the draft lobby as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that. And it's actually working great. It looks like that's nice. Even though you can only draft 5 heroes for the alpha, but
yeah. But still, you know, it's progress.
Yeah, it looks good. Then moving on to Ethereal. Not a lot of new updates from them. They're just kind of reorganized their teams and trying to knuckle down for the final push. So it looks like they're in the home stretch for their game. We might be seeing some sort of announcement soon from them, but yeah, it looks like they're really trying to they're not going to be updating as much. They're just kind of working and trying to push the game forward right now.
Yeah, which they did get rid of. They said they're going to postpone Teaser Tuesdays for, you know, the immediate time being, which you know, that's it is what it is. I mean, I would rather not know anything about the game and actually see them making progress and get the game out to us because, you know, yeah, it's been a couple of months since we were supposed to have that beta. So hopefully we'll get that soon. And, you know, and we can help polish it up and, you know, test it out, get the bugs knocked out and everything like that because it is still a very ambitious project.
Definitely. And then, do you have anything to add, Mandy?
Nope, I was just agreeing.
And moving on to Visionary. Again, nothing really new from them. I mean, they're still going to keep working on what they were doing, which is they've shifted their focus onto a 1-lane 3v3 sort of arena-style game as opposed to a 5v5, which they still plan to do the 5v5 eventually, but right now their main focus is that 1-lane 3v3, which I'm pretty sure we covered on here before. But again, they're also kind of going to go silent for a while they knuckle down and try and get that out so that they have some tangible evidence as to their work.
Yeah, and you know that's they're still in the fight. You know, they're still pumping away, trying to get their game in a roll. And you know, I think a lot of people say, you know, oh, all these are in competition with each other, and if you like one, you can't like the other. And I just don't agree with that. I want to see them all succeed. And then, you know, once we actually get the game out and we're able to play it and things like that, then you can find your favorite. But
then decide.
Yeah, then decide. But as of right now, man, I am very excited for Visionary, and you know, with them switching their focus to that more, you know, that single lane 3v3 type thing, maybe we will actually see something sooner rather than later from them because, yeah, they're not focusing all their time on balancing a map and everything like that. It's just, hey, it's a circle, you spawn in and go kill the bad guy.
Didn't you say like arena mode, like the 3v3 mode in, what's that stupid ass game?
Joust? Like Smite?
Smite, yeah, that's stupid. That's the stupid ass game I was referring to. Isn't that the most popular mode for them instead of the Conquest 5v5?
So it's actually Arena, which is the 5v5 Circle of Death, and then the next one the next one is the single lane 3v3, which is Joust, and then that's actually followed by Conquest. And believe it or not, the ranked versions of those games are actually less popular than the just standard casual version, which you know, and I think that speaks volumes as well because, you know, me for one, I loved Paragon. Didn't have a ranked mode. And if they never added it, it wouldn't have hurt my feelings. You know, I know a lot of people really want ranked, but I would rather the game just be so much fun to play. Who cares about ranked? And that's how I always felt Paragon was. So, you know, yeah, I think Visionary, if they can get their 3v3 and once that game's balanced, I think it will be easier for them to transition into a 5v5 3-lane. As long as you know they start getting some progress and they get some people playing their game and they can see, okay, we want to do this and make this improvement. I'm excited for it. I think it's an awesome thing, and I'm just still so happy that they didn't say, oh, we're shutting the doors, game over. You know, they're still plugging away, and I really hope everybody supports that, because everybody wants more games to play. That's just the way I look at it.
Mandy, anything to add?
I know when I first heard the announcement or read the announcement, I was a little bit bummed because it sounded kind of like, oh no, but I think it's good. I think, you know, kind of like Pirate said, I don't think it'll be that hard for them once they have kind of produced something with the 3 versus 3. It shouldn't be that hard. I don't know anything about game development, so I could be completely wrong. For them to go ahead and, you know, transition into a full 5v5.
Right.
Yeah, it'd just be nice to see something from them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I still want to kill that damn lava Goliath, man. Like, it's like, that guy looks awesome.
So in lieu of an interview this week, what we're doing is, when I did the pilot episode of this, back when it was called the third POV and it was just me all by my little lonesome, I did a summary of the games, and a lot of people like that. A lot of people don't know like what the games are, like the story behind the games. But the games have progressed since then, and I kind of wanted to do an updated summary. So that's what we're going to do for you guys right now, is a summary of the games along with some of the pros and cons as I see them. Maybe Mandy and Pirate don't agree with me on some of this stuff, but probably a lot of it. But anyway, here we go. Here's the summary of the games with the pros and cons.
What's up, everybody? Today we're going to summarize each post-Paragon project so far and offer some pros and cons for each. Bear in mind that some of these pros are also cons and vice versa. Let's go alphabetically and list the summary and pros and cons for Metabuff with Core. Metabuff is currently producing a game called Core. Metabuff started out as two companies, Braindead Games and Unleashed Games, who combined forces early on. Core will use the free assets released by Epic, but will add new features to the game along with changes to the heroes' ability sets. They released a 6-video series highlighting their proof of concept, however there is still little known about which features will make it to the alpha. The pros. They are incorporated. Metabuff is the only developer that is incorporated. This is a huge step towards attaining the PS4 dev kit and eventually getting their game to console. Most Paragon fans and many of the people I personally played with were PS4 players, and I would love to be able to enter Agora with them again. Customizable game experience. The Core proof of concept showed us that Metabuff intends to give us options to play the way that best suits our own tastes. Not just by customizing the appearance through the UI, but by picking core abilities to enhance your hero however you see fit, and the ability to complete tasks that will enhance an ability that you choose. I think all of the above will increase the depth of gameplay and overall enhance the experience of playing Core. A large team. There are a multitude of people working on Metabuff, increasing the amount of resources they can pull from. The cons. A large team. This is one that's both a pro and a con. People problems sometimes. A large company moves slowly, and Metabuff seems to have imposed some unnecessary corporate hurdles on themselves. A diffuse vision. This kinda goes along with the large company part. The Core POC showed a distinct lack of centralized concepts. It really seemed like it was a showcase of different concepts that may be in the game instead of them showing us what their vision of a spiritual successor should be. A lack of communication. Out of all these games, Metabuff has been by far the most opaque. Perhaps this is the norm for a gaming company, however the complete transparency provided by the other developers serves to enhance how closed-lipped Metabuff has been. In closing, Metabuff started out as my odds-on favorite out of all the projects, however the cons are starting to outweigh the pros for me. I still have confidence that they will be able to produce a fun game for us to enjoy, just not as much as I did a few months ago. Omega Studios with Predecessor. Omega Studios is a small company that is currently producing Predecessor. The company was started by Sergeant Smokey, who then handpicked the talent he needed to progress. Predecessor will use the free assets released by Epic with some new visual and sound effects. They also have the element system, however, as the game has developed further, the element system has become less of a factor in the game. They plan to fine-tune and release 5 Paragon heroes with their alpha, with all the heroes eventually being added in. And the 5 that are going to be added into the alpha include Severog, Muriel, Murdoch, Fing Mao, and Gadget. The pros. So much progress. Omega Studios has been hitting home run after home run, focusing on individual character kits and finishing them at a blistering pace. Not only do the abilities function smoothly, but they look and sound great, sometimes even better than the original. Full transparency. Omeda's founder streams his work on the project almost daily while interacting with the community that has sprung up around the game. He takes suggestions and advice midstream and makes corrections live when it comes to minor animations in the feel of the game. Small, agile company. The team at Omega may be small, but they are all handpicked by Sergeant Smokey. Each member is talented and knowledgeable. The company's small size provides for quick communication and task management. The cons. A small company. While I think the size of Omega is a good thing, a smaller company will of course have a smaller amount of resources to work with. Also, I was just hard pressed to come up with cons for Omega. In closing, I almost didn't even look into Omega. I thought with such a small team that they would never be able to stack up to the other companies. Oh, how wrong I was. After doing a very minor amount of research, they quickly changed my mind. The more I find out about Predecessor, the more excited I am for this project, and I've come to realize that sometimes smaller can be better. Makes me feel a little bit better about my downstairs. Undying Games with Ethereal. Undying Games started work on Ethereal well before Paragon was closed. As such, they are focusing on creating their own world with a unique art style and cast of characters. An ambitious project that brings genre-bending innovations, they've captured the interest of not only us old Paragon players, but also an entirely new audience. The pros. Ingenuity. Undying is shaking things up by introducing a multitude of new concepts to the MOBA genre. 6v6 standard mode, floating lanes, destructible environments, and a multitude of other innovative features. Each feature is well thought out and promises to bring us an experience unlike any we've had before. Longevity. Ethereal actually began production well before the announced death of Paragon. Out of all these games, this one has been in production the longest. A large company with streamlined processes, they've shown that they can weather the stresses of game production while remaining true to their vision. A beautiful world. From character and map design to well thought out system of lore, Ethereal is bringing us not only a game, but an entire new world to play in. Not everyone enjoys the art style that they've chose, but I personally think everything they do looks incredible. The cons. Not a true Paragon successor. While I don't particularly think it's a bad thing, Ethereal was only partially inspired by Paragon, and it shows through the character and game design. Paragon purists may be a bit turned off by it. Ambition. The company's ambition is certainly exciting and will have a huge payoff if it all works as intended, but you can't deny that the amount of innovations that are going for may end up biting them in the ass. They haven't disappointed me yet though, and I'm pretty confident that they can pull it off. In closing, Ethereal grabbed my attention from the start and has fully captivated me. I love everything they have to offer and I'm stupid excited about this title. Visionary Games with Phoenix Rising. Visionary Games started work on Phoenix Rising pretty much as soon as Paragon closed. They decided not to use Epic's assets and instead created their own heroes and world. They got off to a good start, however they've had some recent troubles with divisions in the company. They've renewed their focus and have decided to make a playable 1-lane 3v3 map before beginning work on the traditional 3-lane 5v5. The pros. Unbound. Visionary Games decided very early on not to use the Paragon assets and to instead create their own world in the spirit of Paragon. This allows them the freedom to create and balance heroes as they see fit instead of trying to fix what Epic fucked up. Resources. There are many behind-the-scenes resources being used to enhance the experience provided by Phoenix Rising. Not only the talent they have working for them, but also some of the systems they have provided for their use, like Quixel Megascans. Quixel allows them to create beautifully detailed textures for the game. A hard knock life. Visionary has suffered a variety of internal struggles. This will certainly be one of the cons for the game, however, the way they've been able to bounce back, refocus, and renew their efforts is commendable, and inspires faith that they can weather the storm and keep sailing true. The cons. Instability. As I just mentioned, they have shown some internal instability that led to the loss of some of their major talent. Paragon without the heroes. Another one that I don't have a problem with, but it may turn fans off. Phoenix Rising is building new heroes from the ground up instead of using our familiar favorites. In closing, I think I've done more videos about Phoenix Rising than all of the other companies combined, and I'm still looking forward to what they have to offer. However, I can't help but have that nagging instability in the back of my mind when I think about Visionary. Let us know if you agree or disagree with these pros and cons and why. If there's one thing all three of us minions like to do, it's discuss games with you guys.
So that was the summary of the games with the pros and cons. If you guys agree with them, cool. If not, you know, let us know down in the comments. We are more than happy to discuss with you guys. And maybe you don't agree with me, but maybe Mandy and Pirate agree with you. So let's get a discussion going down in the comments of the video, or right now in the Twitch chat. But let's move on with the topic of discussion for this week, which is, as we mentioned, the melee ADCs question from Core. And I really don't have a lot to say about melee ADCs other than they are hardly ever played as melee ADCs. Pirate got into that quite a bit earlier. You don't really see them in the safe lane, in the duo a whole lot. So I really don't see much point in the melee ADC personally.
Well, you know,
I know a lot of people love them, but
one thing I kind of wanted to, you know, I'm sorry, I got way into it earlier, but one thing I've always said is you have to consider Kalari like an ADC. But she is one hero that they didn't call an ADC, even though she is. You know, she did a ton of basic damage, had barely any health, and she sucked until, you know, 15, 20 minutes into the game. It's the same with Yin, same with Seraph, same with Wukong. That's how those heroes are. But they called her, oh, she's an assassin. She's something special. You know, and if you clicked on the little carry button when they finally added those, she didn't pop up, even though she made all the qualifications. And I really do think we need to, you know, call the melee, you know, the basic damage heroes that are weak, do a ton of damage, and have maybe one or two escapes. We need to call those assassins. You know, that's their role. And you can play them wherever you want, but they're not as good in the duo lane. I think that needs to be, you know, instead of calling your mid lane, instead of calling that mid lane position, call it mages. You know, those are mages. Call your solo lane warriors and guardians, kind of like how Smite does. And you know, even though Countess would be considered, you know, is a melee hero, she is still a mage. And, you know, that would distinguish them, and then, you know, you build them to play the role that they're designed for. Like, my big suggestion about Wukong, because Wukong is broken. I mean, everybody that's ever played the game knew he was broken. They removed him from the game for, what, nine weeks? Because they couldn't fix him. And if they just balance him to be a solo laner, I think it'd fix him. I really do. You know, make him scale just like Greystone, except with where Greystone has more health and less damage, do the opposite for Wukong. Give Wukong a little bit more damage and a little less health, and, you know, tune his escapes down just a little bit, and boom, you've got a great solo lane, you know, a lane pushing hero. Instead of this guy can come up to you and hit you twice and kill you. You know, but again, like you were saying, Mongoose, with them asking that question, you know, it raises the concern of me of, are they just not going to include those heroes anymore? Because that changes a lot of things when they do that.
Yeah. What do you think, Manny? Because I don't think they would just completely not include the heroes, but I think they would change their kits or maybe their scaling.
Yeah, I definitely don't think they would not just like not include them at all. I think they would piss off a lot of people if they did that. Yes. But I know, like, when this question was posed, I was like, I don't care, because I don't play melee ever. Like, ever. Not just Paragon. Never. If there is a ranged option, you girls play in range, because I don't want to be in there. I don't want to get my hands dirty. I want to stay out and with my little bow and arrow and poke people in the ass and get out.
Well, I like to get in close and use my thumb to poke people in the ass.
You know, we all have our
But,
preferences.
I don't know. I think it's worth the distinction between a carry and an ADC. An ADC stands for attack damage carry.
Right.
What makes an ADC an ADC is the scaling on their basic auto attack, which is why Seraph was so dangerous at the end of the game and kind of weak at the beginning of the game, if not played like, you know, to the hilt. Like there were people that could play her to the hilt, but I don't think you can argue that she was much weaker early game than she was late game.
Right.
That's kind of the definition of an ADC. Whereas as far as a carry, of course, anybody can be a carry. It's whoever is doing the most damage on your team. If you want to feed kills and last hits to your Bellica so that she can be your mage carry, you know, she's a mage carry, but that's not an ADC.
Right.
What they're specifically referring to is melee attack damage carries. And I really don't consider Yin to be a melee attack damage, a melee ADC.
She borderline ranged.
I mean, yeah, she had
She was in that gray area.
Yeah, she was a very interesting character.
Well, you know, to me, Yin, in all honesty, I think Yin was one of the most broken heroes in the game. She was just underplayed. No one really played her. But she was the only hero that had 100% cleave that could crit. And I mean, she could straight up, you know, there before they changed it right at the end, she could stay in that, like, range class with whatever it was called, you know, Tail Whip or whatever that ability was. You could spam it. It cost, like, 3 mana to use it, and it had a, like, 10-second activation with, like, a 9-second cooldown. So
yeah, so you had, like, 1 second where you couldn't use it.
Right. Like, well, once you hit level 10, Yin was a ranged hero, and she had 100% cleave.
Yin was kind of she was an anti-ADC, if anything else. And I think that's a lot of what melee ADCs are really good at, is being anti-ADCs. Like Sarah,
like an assassin.
Very good at yes, like an exactly.
Yeah.
You nailed it on the head earlier, and you nailed it on the head just now. They're very good at late game taking out an enemy ranged ADC, just like an assassin, just like a Kalari, just like a Countess. So yeah, maybe they should just call them assassins and keep them the way they are. And hopefully that'll prevent people from trying to use them in the safe lane. However, I did have one of my subs I used to play with that played Seraph very effectively in the safe lane. But that was only because I was working with him with Richter.
Well, you know, I think it's fair to say that like there's certain people that play Wraith all the time. I was not the best Wraith player, but there's somebody that plays Wraith that probably played nothing but jungle Wraith, and he's amazing at it. You know, and I think that's fair to say with anything. Like you, Mongoose, all you did was play, you know, you played a shit ton of Richter. You could play Richter in any role, and he would have done well. You know, maybe not mid lane, but possibly. You know, because you were just absolutely talented with that hero. With you, Mandy, you know, you were a Sparrow main. You know, you probably did play Sparrow in the jungle a little bit, but you know, you could play Sparrow really anywhere and find success with it. But that doesn't, like, that's on you. That's you being such a good player that you can do that. Someone that picks up the game for the first time is not going to find success by playing Sparrow in the mid lane. Or you know, not even the first time, you know, until they get good with a specific hero. If they're just jumping around from hero to hero, you don't want to see someone picking up Rampage and running him in solo lane. You know, and that's kind of the way I see that is if you are really good with a hero, God, it doesn't matter, in any MOBA ever, if you are very, very talented with this person, with this character, you can play him anywhere you want, because you're awesome. And so I think, yeah, Seraph could be awesome in the duo lane if you were good with Seraph. 95% of everybody else was terrible with Seraph, and if they played him in the duo lane, they got shit on. So, you know, that's kind of the way I see that is, you know, your buddy was talented as shit. That's why he was awesome in the duo lane. And, you know, you were helping him as well. Y'all were in comms. That's definitely a huge help. So, yeah, to me, I just see that as more of a, you know, when you're talking about melee ADCs, you have to talk to people that didn't play a whole lot of ADCs or melee ADCs, because yeah, you know, those people are going to be super talented, and sure, you might need to do that fine tuning to make sure they're not overpowered, but for the most part, you know, yeah, the vast majorities are not going to play that character in that role.
Yeah. I think that's about all I have to say on the whole melee ADC thing. How about you guys?
Like I said, I wrote a novel, and I've even talked about it more in this video. Like, I can talk about it for days, man. So yeah. All
right, cool. You guys have anything that you want to plug?
No, I'm still working on animations. I did the little New Year's one. I actually, so I don't know if y'all been in the Discord. I'm sure you saw that I made this super detailed Gideon, Richter, and Sparrow. And I figured out while animating them, they look absolutely terrible because there's just so much detail. So I have to turn them down, so I had to create a new one. Actually, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do something awesome for New Year's, and I sat down and made that animation 100% yesterday. Oh god, my eyes were bleeding at the end, but I got done at like 11:54 or something like that. It was just in time. But yeah, that's really what I've been working on. That, you know, just keeping updates on things and whatnot. What about you, Mandy? What are you working on?
I started a new, what will hopefully be a series on my channel, The Cheapskate Gamer, where I just play games that I can either get for free or for very cheap, and everybody gets to laugh at what a mediocre gamer I am.
Yeah, that's what I'll plug is Mandy playing Soma. Oh my god. I've never played Soma, but watching her play Soma was so fucking entertaining. And I'm trying to convince her to play Doki Doki. If any of you have played Doki Doki, you know what she's in for.
Yeah, but I'm scared because you're like, play it, but don't play it, but play it, but don't play it.
Yeah, well, it's a weird game to
describe.
Tell somebody to play. Anyway, yeah, I think that's about it.
What about you, Mongoose? What do you got planned?
Well, now that the dogs are out of the house, I can finally work on some shit. I don't know what I'll be able to do. Every time I tried to record, I was watching my boss's dogs, and they would just start
flip out
over something or other every time I tried.
They knew.
That's what I was saying. Someone told me that you can reduce the background noise of your mic if you mix dog food and rat poison and leave it on your front porch. For whatever.
I love them little dogs.
So wrong.
It reduces background noise, though.
All right, that's going to be it for this week's episode of For the Minions. We appreciate you guys coming out. And sponsors. Fuck, I didn't prepare. This week's episode is sponsored by Little Dick's. Little Dick's Sporting Goods, helping out the under-equipped athletes. If you need something bigger, head on over to Black Dicks. So that's going to be it for today. I'm sorry, that was just off the cuff.
Oh my Lord.
And stick around if you're watching this on Twitch, and we'll have chill out time. If you're watching this as the premiere, it's about to end abruptly, and I apologize. If you're watching the video, you're about to see the Mangoose. So, all right, guys, it's been a good time. See you later.
See ya.
Mangoose.